Hey, this is Bailey,
And I'm Timothy.
and welcome to What Sleep Podcast.
Let's get right into it.
Woo.
Welcome back to part 2 of John Christie.
Part 2.
Might be a 3-parter, so bury your butts.
Bury your butts.
Bury your butts.
Got it.
Yes. Barricade your butts. I don't know what you want. Anyways, I still got 25 pages of notes left for y'all, so we'll see how far we can get in an hour. But let's go ahead and get right into it. When last we left off, we were going over Mr. John Christie and his involvement with the Evanses
Yeah, behind his back.
behind their back.
That's
and
crazy.
everything. So there's 2 versions of what might have happened in John Christie's involvement with the Evanses.
Okay.
We're going to go over both of them. So the first version, which is actually the shortest, Christie claimed that he had spotted Beryl Evans on Tuesday, November 8th, around noon, and he
Okay.
saw her go out with her baby. He told police afterward that he never saw her again. Another version says that she went out but left her baby in the apartment and asked Miss Christie to listen in once in a while, which, bad parenting.
Yeah.
Don't think that would happen.
First of all. Second of all, sure you saw them
Oh, yeah.
walk away and then never again.
Sure.
Okay, buddy.
Evans came home and the Christies went out. Beryl must have come home later.
Sure.
So, Christie knew about Beryl's determination to abort her child and had warned Evans that the pills she had taken could do her some damage.
Okay, that's fair.
Right. He was also afraid that Evans had been too rough with her, and the girl seemed afraid for her life. Which, we know that, they did have little spouting matches, and Timothy Evans wasn't exactly
A stellar dude,
a
but
stellar guy, but
I don't think he would have killed her.
I don't think he would have. I think, he's just a piece of garbage, but not a full-on piece of garbage.
He's not a murderer.
He's not a murderer. He just likes to rob people,
Petty crimes.
just do dumb things.
Just generally be a POS.
Yeah. But at midnight that night, the Christies were disturbed from sleep by a very loud thump overhead. Then they heard a sound that indicated someone was moving something heavy around.
Uh-huh.
Sounds legit.
Okay.
Mr. Kitchener was in the hospital, so that eliminated him. It had to be the 3rd floor, which I don't know how you hear the 3rd floor from the 1st floor.
Right. It's got to be like a very loud noise, and even then, like, you're not going to hear dragging noises from 2 floors up.
Oh yeah, no way. So
like, even with thin walls, maybe
well,
the thud.
even then, the apartment was made out of brick.
Okay.
So there was no way you would hear it through the walls,
right.
let alone 2 floors.
You lying, Christy.
See, we knew better, but it had to be the 3rd floor where the Evanses lived, according to Christie. There were no further noises, so the Christies went back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, Evans told them that Beryl had gone to Bristol. She had told no one of her plans and had failed to bid anyone goodbye, but Evans stood by his story. He told his mother, however, that she had gone to Brighton to see her father, which is an odd thing to do since she was not close to the man.
Oh, okay.
But we
Not
know
impossible.
that Evans likes to lie.
I mean, yeah.
So
They're both
I don't know.
liars.
But another day passed and Evans came to see the Christies. He was upset with his boss and said that he had quit, but in fact he had been fired. He claimed that he had decided to sell all the furniture and join his wife. He proceeded to do so, although he owed a debt on the furniture, and he gave the dealer who collected it a fake address in Bristol.
Oof.
He then gave bedding and Beryl's clothing torn into pieces to a rag man. Oddly, he tore it up for
what?
rags.
A rag man?
Yeah.
Is that a job?
So back then, yeah. If you had old clothes that were tattered, torn, whatever, you would take it to the rag man and he would, salvage it into different things. He would try and repair it.
It's like a tailor, kind of.
Kind of, but like not as fancy.
Okay. I like that job title, rag man.
Rag man. But he tore it up for rags rather than selling it to a secondhand shop for which he could have gotten more money out of it.
Yeah.
So that's why it was really odd. He left by train, not to Bristol, but to his aunt's home in Methier Vale.
Okay.
So again,
Weird.
lots of lying.
Yeah.
Evans
It's
stayed
like
there.
weird stuff to lie about too.
Yeah, like it's just the small things that
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you get more specific, I believe that you're lying.
Honestly though, like
yeah.
being super specific is just like a clear giveaway that you're guilty of something.
I don't think he was guilty of murder though. Sorry.
You don't think so?
Evans, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Trying to see if you're gonna lie to me.
Me?
Maybe you're the murderer.
Yep.
But Evans stayed there for 6 days. During that time, he began to wonder what had become of his daughter. Of course, as we know, he really liked his daughter. On November 23rd, he returned to Rillington Place to speak to Christie. He claimed that his wife had left him. He did not go see his mother and sisters, who were wondering what had become of him and Beryl. No one knew what to make of his odd behavior, and he returned to Methier Vale.
Okay.
So that's version 1. Version 2, which, according to this version, spelled out in Kennedy's book, Beryl had told Lucy Endicott that Christie had offered to abort her. She had no way of knowing that not only did he have no medical expertise, but he had a more shady past than anyone yet realized, and she was about to be drawn into it, as we know.
Count Karl von Kassel. No medical experience. Just out here.
Apparently, that was just a
doctor.
thing. You could just say you were a doctor.
That's what I'm saying. You could get away with anything back in the day.
Lots of insurance fraud. Just everything, man. It was crazy. Good times. To her mind, this former police officer with medical background and a first aid kit was just trying to help her out of a difficult situation. Evans discovered this arrangement on the first day of November. He told Christie they were not interested. Christie said he knew something about medical procedures from his stint in the War Reserve Police and had performed several successful abortions, which I'm pretty sure that just being part of the War Reserve Police, they don't teach you how to do abortions.
Yeah, especially if it's illegal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why would
I'm
you
sure
need to know
they
it?
teach you how to, suture a wound and, basic things.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, let me do this dramatic medical procedure.
Invasive medical procedure.
Yeah. He showed Evans the photo of him in his uniform that he liked to tout around because he really loved that uniform. But Evans still refused, being like, nah, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Plus, he just wanted to keep the baby.
Yeah.
He went upstairs to his wife, who told him that she trusted Christie and intended to allow him to do it. Not long afterward, Evans discovered that money he had given his wife for the house had been paid for other things.
Like what?
The abortion.
Oh, gotcha.
They got into a serious fight over it. He threatened to leave her, and she invited him to go ahead. Instead, he went off by himself to the movies and returned later that night. On November 7th, Evans went to work, and Beryl made arrangements with Christie to perform the abortion the following day.
Okay.
She told her husband that night, but he did not believe her. They had another argument that evening that involved shoving and slapping.
Okay.
So like I said, both of them were kind of
Rude.
pieces of garbage, but still, I don't think Evans did it.
I don't think he was capable of that.
Yeah.
Especially if, he didn't want to abort the baby. Like, he's not going to do anything to hurt the baby or the mom. So,
and it seems like he really only gets physical when it's provoked.
I mean, I'm sure other times,
because most of the time, whenever we hear about physical altercations between the two, it's both of them doing it, not like just him or just her.
I'm sure there was a lot of different instances where it was just him or just her.
Maybe, but
relevant
everything
to
I
the
could
case
find
is probably both of them.
Yeah,
so
more than likely. But the next morning, Beryl asked Evans to tell Christie that everything was okay, and on his way to work, he did so. Around 8 o'clock, the carpenters returned to continue their work on the wash house and the roof. The rest of the story depends on which of the Christie's versions of the murder is to be believed. In his own later confession, he contradicted himself on several points.
Of course he did.
Of course. Around noon, he says that he went up the steps to Beryl. She unfolded a kilt in front of the fire and laid down on it in preparation.
Okay.
He may have used rubber tubing to gas her, but that is not clear. And apparently she panicked and he began to hit her.
Okay.
So then he got out of court.
Wait, whose account is this?
This is Christie's own account.
Okay, okay.
Apparently she panicked and he began to hit her. Then he got out of cord and strangled her. In one account, he says he tried to have intercourse with her and couldn't, but in another, he says that he did. So
he's just so sleazy.
Yeah, I just don't even know what to think about this whole account.
I don't either. Like, why? Okay, so I believe that he probably tried, and I believe that he, again, with the narcissism, kind of, flavored the story up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She struggled, so I hit her. Like, now she probably walked in, you probably choked her, probably beat her too. Yeah, sure, whatever. But,
Yeah. I mean, he probably tried to have sex with her, but, she's like, nah, just do what you're here to do and get out.
Yeah, because he's sleazy.
And then, when she was like, nah, not letting him do it, that's when he got murdery. He also said that he had found her on the kilt attempting to kill herself with gas. She had offered him sex if he would help her, so he did.
Okay.
However, he was unable to have sex with her.
There it is.
So, like, you walk in on her attempting to kill herself with gas, and then she offered to have sex with you.
Yeah. Okay, buddy.
If he would help her?
He's crazy.
Like, I don't know. That just sounds like a really weird little fantasy dream thing.
I can't get his crazy eyes out of my head.
Yeah. they will forever haunt us.
Yeah.
And if you want to be haunted too, go check out our Instagram where you can find his crazy eyes at What Sleep Podcast.
That was me pointing my fingers.
Finger guns. One of Beryl's friends, Joan Vincent, came over just around that time and was surprised to find the apartment door closed. She knocked and was further surprised that Beryl seemed not to be at home. Both of these things were unusual. She tried the door, opening it a little, but found it blocked. Although no one spoke, she felt certain there was someone on the other side. Finally, she just went away.
Okay.
Clearly, the door is barricaded, and you think nothing of it.
You're suspicious, and you're like, not today. I'm not dealing with that. Like,
I mean, maybe she was just like, I don't feel like being caught up in this.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I ain't dealing with that. I'm gonna walk away. Like, sure, I get it. Some people can't really handle that, but at least call the police. Like, hey, I'm a little bit suspicious. Can we do a wellness check? Well, it's a thing you can do.
Apparently not. Evans came home that evening, and Christie met him at the bottom of the stairs. He told Evans to go up, and he would follow. Upstairs, Christie told Evans it's bad news. It didn't work. Christie pointed to the bedroom where Evans found his wife on the bed covered up. He pulled the blanket away and saw that she was dead. She had been bleeding from the mouth, nose, and vagina.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. He said, quote unquote, it's bad news. It didn't work. He didn't say, hey, she didn't make it. You need to call the police. Like, why would you not be like, I don't know. If I was Timothy Evans, I would have been like, why didn't you tell me she died? Why didn't you call the police? What happened? Tell me what happened. I would have been flipping out. Anyway, nobody makes sense in this story.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. After that, Evans just went into the kitchen to feed his baby, and Christie said he would speak with him later. So, nothing happened after that.
Yeah, shock can be a thing.
When he he did suggest that Beryl might have died from septic poisoning since she tried so many miscarriage remedies. He himself had found her stomach to be septic poisoned, which...
He found her stomach to be septic poisoned?
Yeah, quote.
How?
Septic poisoned.
You don't know what you're doing, Christie. Shut up.
Exactly.
Shut up.
Christie told Evans that going to the police would get them both in trouble with a charge of manslaughter.
No.
All Christie had to do was help. In addition, Evans was an accomplice of sorts since he had prior knowledge and did not stop it.
Sure.
He also had a history of fights with his wife, which would make him a suspect. Evans was easily persuaded to keep the matter quiet.
Yeah, no kidding. That's infuriating.
Like, just straight up murder his wife, show him the dead body, and be like,
and then convince him that
if you do it, you're going to be prime suspect numero uno.
Yeah.
Not me.
And he was still... What's the word? He was still in court. He was the prime testifier.
What
was it?
I mean, he testified.
Oh, the prime witness or something.
Yeah, prime witness. He was a witness to it in the court, so.
Key witness. That's what it was.
Yeah. So.
Ridiculous. Oh my god.
Yeah. But Christie then proposed that he would dispose of the body himself.
Mm-hmm.
However, he was unable to manage to do it.
Yeah, because he's weak.
Together, they carried Beryl into Mr. Kitchener's flat and left her in the kitchen, hoping the man would not return soon from the hospital. Christie said he would put her down one of the drains later. Evans wanted to take his daughter to his mother's house, but Christie dissuaded him. He believed that this would cause suspicion. He would come up with a plan and take care of things. They then parted and went to bed.
Kill your child.
He also,
decimated an entire family.
Literally. The next day, Christie told Evans that he would look after the baby. He said he knew a young couple who would take her, and Evans was to tell people that Beryl and the baby had gone off on a holiday, because that's not suspicious in of itself either. Christie took care of her that day, but the day after, Evans prepared the baby for transport. Christie said the young couple would come that day to get the child. That was the last day that anyone saw Geraldine alive. Kennedy claims that Christie murdered her that day by strangulation and then placed her with her mother in Kitchener's kitchen. He was so horrified by this killing that he made himself forget his involvement with it.
Yeah.
Which,
sure.
You know, okay. I feel like that's just selective memory at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Liar.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened. Me? What?
Yeah.
That day, Joan Vincent returned. As she went up the steps, Christie came out to ask her what she wanted. He informed her that Beryl and the baby had gone away, but she spotted the baby's high chair and pram behind him in his sitting room. Christie told her it would be better if she did not return.
Sure.
So why did he or she not immediately go to the police?
Because everyone in this story is dumb. Every single person. I don't understand the logic and the thought process that went into how they handled everything. Go to the police. Mm-hmm. My wife died. That's when you should have gone to the police and been like, hey, I'm taking my kid out of this house. My wife is dead in there. I think my neighbor did it.
Well, I mean, in Evans's defense with that, he wasn't exactly the brightest.
Regardless, he died anyway because he got convicted of it.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Believing he held power over Evans, Christie persuaded the man to sell his furniture and prepare to leave town. Evans complied. The carpenters had now finished their work in the wash house, so Christie moved the bodies, hiding them in the wash house. Mm-hmm. Evidence for this was that Christie reported the next day to his doctor to treat a terrible pain in his lower back. Despite his incessant hypochondria, he never before complained of this, so it was apparently quite real.
Okay.
A likely cause was unaccustomed exertion, such as lifting a heavy weight.
You weak.
Weak. Imagine throwing your back out trying to, after you just murdered.
Lifting anything.
Murdered a woman and her child.
Ugh. Ridiculous.
Yeah. When Evans returned on November 23rd from Mether Vale, he asked about his daughter, and Christie told him that he must leave or they might both get into trouble.
Sure.
He could see his daughter in 2 or 3 weeks. Evans returned to stay with his aunt, whereupon he told several lies about Beryl's whereabouts. Which of these versions is true depends on how one interprets the facts. There are problems with both and little direct evidence for either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So that's both accounts on how this might have happened. But now we're going to go ahead and get into Evans's confession. False confession, might I add, but.
You know how I feel about that.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why.
He couldn't save his family, so he wanted to die. Suicide by cop. That's how it happened. That's what I think happened.
I mean, that's a possibility, but I don't think...
He felt guilty. He lost the baby that he wanted, her to have. He lost his wife and he lost his daughter. So he was like, I mean, what else do I have to live for,
I don't know. You could see justice for them by getting rid of Mr. Christie.
Not everybody is like that. Well, Christie was very convincing in telling him, hey, if you go to the police, they're going to look at you and then you're going to be a prime suspect.
And then you'll go be a prime suspect no more. No.
Exactly. So he was like, what? I mean, like, I can't win a case against in trial and might as well die.
I feel like you could have, because if he tried to have sex with her and his whole thing was necrophilia.
Christie?
Yeah, he liked a little bit of necrophilia.
But look at the fact that Christie was the prime or the key witness in.
Well, that's because Evans confessed.
Exactly.
He gave a false confession. He could have redeemed himself.
There was no way.
He could have.
Christie would have gotten out of it. So you see the legal system there. The failure.
He could have tried. But Mrs. Probert decided to check on the young couple's strange disappearance. She soon discovered that Beryl had never gone to see her father. She asked Christie what he knew and he just told her not to worry.
Yeah.
Then she learned from her sister that Evans was staying there awaiting Beryl, and she quickly determined that he was telling lies. Someone.
Yeah.
Beryl and the baby were missing, and the furniture was gone from the apartment.
They're both lying.
Oh, yeah. Evans's aunt confronted him. Having few mental resources to cope with all of this, it was not long before he arrived at the Methier Tifdale police station with the odd statement, quote, I have disposed of my wife. I put her down the drain. So, yeah.
He was convinced to do it.
But he
to confess.
Yeah.
100%.
More than likely. They were not sure what to make of this. He had not actually confessed to killing anyone, but what he did say needed to be checked out. Evans went on to explain that his wife was dead, but he did not kill her. Afraid that mentioning Christie, a former police officer, would only end up in incriminating him, he claimed that a stranger had given him something to help Beryl abort the baby. He had met a man, he said, who had given him some medication intended for spontaneous abortion. He allowed his wife to take the bottle from him, but he warned her not to use it. That day, however, when he returned from work, he found her dead. He tended to the baby and wondered what he should do. He was afraid that the police would think he had killed her. The next morning, he put his wife's body headfirst down the drain outside the front door. He stayed home from work and then went in to give notice. He also made arrangements to have someone look after his child, and he wanted someone to find his wife and get this situation resolved.
Okay.
While Evans waited in Wales, the Notting Hill police were notified, and they went to the house to investigate. It became immediately apparent that something was amiss when it took 3 men to move the manhole cover.
Yeah.
Evans,
It's obvious that he didn't do it.
yeah, like there's
Except
no way.
apparently it's not obvious.
Apparently it's not obvious, no, but it is obvious. Evans could not have done this by himself as he claimed, and once they had raised it, they could see that there was no body. Back at Mether Vale, Evans was told of this discovery. He was amazed, but immediately changed his statement. He would now tell the truth. He said that there was no stranger who had given him abortion pills. Rather, it was his neighbor, Reginald Christie, who had put Beryl down the drain. Evans had claimed it only to protect himself from Christie. He said that Christie had offered to help Beryl abort the baby, but warned that the concoction he used was dangerous and could kill her. She wanted to try it, so when Evans left for work on November 8th, Beryl had gone to see Christie, and the stuff she took had killed her. When Evans had returned home, he found her bleeding from every orifice.
Mm-hmm. Wild.
This case is just annoying, honestly. This is just evil at its finest, honestly.
It's
Like setting up an innocent person to look like the suspect and then literally get put to death for
after
it.
his entire family died.
Oh, yeah. After he lost everything.
Yeah.
He had attended to the baby while Christie moved the corpse, and Christie had returned with the story that he had left her in Mr. Kitchener's flat for the time being. He would wait until dark to put the body down one of the drains. He then told Evans that he knew of some people who would take Geraldine. Evans was to give Christie all of Geraldine's things, and when Evans came home on Thursday, his child was gone, and Christie said he had taken care of everything. Like before, he told him to sell all your furniture and leave. As the investigation intensified, Evans added things to his story. He admitted that he had helped Christie to carry his wife down to the other flat, but only because Christie could not do it on his own.
Weak.
Weak.
Sorry.
He also said he had visited Christie several weeks later to inquire after his child, but was told it was too soon to see her. And he asked that they contact his mother to find out the address of the couple who had taken his child. He just wanted to know how she was.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Like,
weird.
So
Again with the weird lies. I don't get it.
But the police investigated the house and garden at 10 Rillington Place, but their search was superficial. They never even saw the human thigh bone in the garden that propped up the fence, let alone did any
Which
digging.
is insane to me. That makes me the most angry.
Yeah, like there's just a thigh bone, just
just a
chilling,
bone.
propping up a fence.
Just vibing.
Yeah, just out in the open. And, we saw the picture of it. It's not a big thing at all. Like the garden area, it's not big at
It's
all. It could
small.
barely fit like 4 people in
It's
it.
insane. It took them until their second investigation of the backyard. Like they came, searched around for any evidence, missed the bone the first time, and left.
Yep.
It wasn't until they came back that they saw it, which is insane.
Yeah. But Christie's dog dug up a skull, but the police failed to notice this as well. So Christie tossed the skull into a bombed out house nearby where after it was discovered, there was endless speculation of who the unfortunate air-raided victim was.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. Like,
Just the
who that be?
circumstance.
Who that be?
What they did find in Evans's mostly empty apartment was puzzling. Among a pile of papers by a window, there were clippings from the newspaper of a sensational torso murder known as the Stanley City case.
Okay, I don't know that case.
This was odd, having a bunch of newspaper clippings because Evans didn't know how to read.
He was narcissistic. I keep saying, like, he just wants to hold on and look at stuff that makes him
Oh, yeah.
remember that he murdered people.
Well, no, we're talking about Evans.
Oh, Evans?
Evans didn't know how to read. And when they looked in his apartment, they found
Oh,
nothing
weird.
really but, the, pile of papers by the window talking about this murder. But Evans didn't know how to read.
Yeah, that's weird. Christie planted it.
Oh, probably. The apparent plant by someone else failed to register with anyone. It just looked incriminating. There was also a stolen briefcase. So,
Mhm. Yeah, because Christie was trying to frame him, and he succeeded.
yeah, everyone knows that Evans can't read. So that's why people are like, wait, okay.
It's only logical to come to that conclusion, but,
You would think. But
they didn't.
Evans was arrested for the briefcase and brought back to London for further questioning. Christie was also summoned for an interview that lasted 6 hours. He was savvy about what to say, and the police accepted him as one of their own. Another officer questioned Miss Christie, who had been coached by her husband. Christie dismissed Evans's accusations as ridiculous. The man was a known liar. He then went on to recount how violent the marriage had been.
So is Christie.
Little did they know. When Beryl and the baby could not be located, the police searched the house again. They then went into the backyard and tried to get into the wash house, but the door was stuck. Miss Christie brought them a piece of metal to loosen it. Inside, it was dark. They noticed some wood standing against the sink. One of the officers reached behind it and felt something. They moved the wood and saw what appeared to be a package wrapped in a green tablecloth and tied up with a cord. Miss Christie claimed she had never seen it before and did not know what it was.
Never seen this in my life.
They pulled the package out further and untied the cord, and a pair of feet slipped out, revealing the decaying corpse of Beryl Evans.
Yeah. Morbid.
Sad. Further searching produced the baby lying under some wood behind the door.
That's so sad.
Both had been strangulated. A man's tie was still around the baby's neck.
Did they ever figure out whose tie it was? Probably not.
Dr. Donald Hare, the Home Office pathologist, arrived to examine the bodies. He then took them to Kensington Mortuary. An autopsy indicated that both had been dead for about 3 weeks. Beryl had been bruised over the lip and right eye as if she had been hit.
Mm-hmm.
She had been strangled with a cord of some kind, like a rope. There was no evidence that she had taken anything to try to abort her 3-month-old fetus.
Interesting.
But there was bruising inside her vagina. Mm-hmm. Unaccountably, the doctor neglected to take a vaginal swab to check for semen.
Of course he did.
So.
Of course he did.
You have one job.
Yeah.
Imagine if he would have just done that little bit. It would have saved Evans's life.
Yeah, it's not even a case of. So if you weren't dealing with a case where somebody died potentially due to an abortion, that's one of the first things you test. You do like a toxicology report and you do a swab. Like even if you weren't looking for that, if it was somebody who died of natural causes, like you're still gonna check stuff. Like they don't always do it, I guess, but there was a reason for him to do it and he still didn't do it. I'm so mad.
But it's just the fact that this one person neglecting to do a main aspect of their job is the reason Tim Evans died.
Yeah.
100%. And how John Christie got away with it for a little bit. Christie was asked to identify the clothing taken from the two corpses. He knew Beryl's skirt and blouse, but claimed he did not know the tie that had been around Geraldine's neck, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he might have seen it on Evans.
Sure. Ugh.
When Tim Evans returned to London from Wales, all he was told on the way was that he was going to be questioned about a briefcase found in his apartment that belonged to someone else. When he arrived in London, however, there was no doubt in his mind that he was being arrested for murder. Photographers were standing outside the police station to take pictures, and he was shown the pile of clothing taken from the bodies with the tie on top, and was told that his wife and daughter had been found. Tears came to his eyes, and he bent down and picked up the tie. That night, the Notting Hill police took 2 more confessions from Evans. He first admitted that he was responsible for their deaths and added that it was a relief to get it off his chest.
Okay.
He said he had killed his wife because she was running up debts. They had quarreled and he had hit her. I did not hit her. I did not.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Still haven't seen that movie, and that's the only thing I know.
It's the best. It's horrible.
It's horrible.
It's the worst movie, but that's why it's a cult classic.
He had strangled her with a piece of rope. He wrapped her body in the tablecloth in which she had been found and took her to the apartment below. After that, he put it in the wash house at midnight on November 8th. The next day, he fed the baby and left her alone all day. He repeated this again the day after. Then he quit his job and came home and killed his child by strangling her with his tie.
I doubt it.
He put her into the wash house as well.
Doubt it.
Kennedy points out that Evans could not have put any bodies into the wash house on those days because the carpenters were still in and out and would have noticed.
And when he first confessed, he said that he had put her body into a pipe. So he didn't even know where the bodies were.
Exactly.
Except he still got convicted.
Yep. He also claims that his confession used words beyond Evans's intellectual capability, and that if he had sold all of his furniture, he certainly have included the baby's pram and high chair.
Right.
Instead, he gave them to Christie, an indication that he believed his daughter was being given to the couple that Christie said he knew. But, of course that gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Evans then offered a longer confession, which took about 75 minutes to record and read back to him.
Oh, Lord.
Evans apparently claimed that, in fact, he was up all night talking with the police until 5 o'clock in the morning. Kennedy points out the impossibility that this lengthy statement was taken in such a short amount of time, and he believes that Evans was indeed subjected to a much longer interrogation.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Break him down to get an easy confession.
Oh,
that's how it works.
Just lock him in a room for 9 hours at a time with just constant bombardment of questions after he literally just found out his wife and daughter and baby were killed. But, whatever. Semantics.
Yeah, whatever.
Painstakingly, Evans went through as much detail as he could recall about the days leading up to the murder, including hitting Beryl in the face. After that, in a fit of temper, he strangled her. He included putting her in the wash house and using wood to hide the body. However, he twice made the statement that he had locked the wash house door, and this was untrue, since the carpenters had been in and out of it all week without having to get someone to unlock it. Also, the wood used to hide the bodies had come from the flooring that was pulled up on November 11th, which the carpenter recalled Christie asking for. At any rate, it was not available on the 8th and 10th. He also never gave an explanation as to why he killed his baby. He also said he left the rope around Beryl's neck, although no rope was ever found.
Because he didn't.
Because he didn't do it, but whatever.
It's so obvious. So, it's painful.
Beryl also only weighed about 10 to 15 pounds less than Evans, so you could not easily nor soundlessly have dragged her past where the Christie's bedroom overlooked the backyard. He also said that he left his baby unattended for 2 long days with no one reporting her crying. So.
Sure. Babies don't just not cry, and they also need a lot of food to eat. So it would have gotten hungry and it would have cried.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So that's a lie, too.
Kennedy suggests that at the very least, the police edited the statements and possibly even guided Evans's confession.
Mm-hmm.
People who feel coerced or who seek relief have been known to confess to crimes they did not commit. It is not altogether unlikely, especially in light of Evans's limited intelligence. After the arraignment, when his mother came to see him, he had changed his mind. "I didn't do it, Mom," he insisted. "Christie done it."
Yeah.
So, nevertheless, he continued to repeat the story he had told, how he had done it to Dr. Matheson in the prison. He did it voluntarily, without prompting or questioning. And Evans told how he strangled his wife, but stopped short of talking about her disposal, saying it distressed him. However, he did not seem distressed. The doctor felt the story was genuine.
Okay.
Which I feel like he's just like, yeah, sure, you did it. Okay, but
yeah.
He gave the impression that it was a relief to get it all off his chest. He also mentioned that he and Hum, the killer of SETI, had been together at Brixton. He remarked that he had often talked about the case. Thus, it could be that the clippings in his flat were indeed his, and possibly someone else had read them to him. The way his wife's body had been parceled was similar to the way Hum did with SETI. At no time prior to his trial did he protest his innocence to those who guarded him. Soon, the whole affair was finally decided in court.
Yeah.
So, Christie took the time to wrap the bodies similar to this other murderer and then plant newspaper clippings of that particular murder in Evans's apartment.
Framing. It's very obvious.
And the police, knowing he can't read, rather than doing that, they were like, maybe he had someone read them to him.
It's insane.
It's just...
It's literally an easy confession, and they flipped the narrative to fit their agenda, which was an open and shut, got the job done, we can go home now.
Yeah, 100%.
Doesn't matter that this man died or that the family didn't get justice, but I got to go home at 5 o'clock, whatever.
Nice, easy day.
Yeah.
Now we'll move on to a more in-depth look at the trial of Timothy Evans involving Mr. Christie. On January 11th, 1950, Evans was tried at the Old Bailey for the murder of his baby.
Hey, that's me.
Hey, you're Old Bailey.
Yep, I'm pretty old.
I'm old on the inside. Mr. Justice Lewis, whose health was quickly deteriorating, presided. Christmas Humphreys was the prosecutor, and he relied on Christie as his chief witness.
His name was Christmas?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He wanted to avoid the kind of motive that the defense could put forth in the case of barrel provocation because it could introduce a charge of manslaughter with a lesser sentence. In cases where two murders occur that can be linked as part of one transaction, evidence about both can be included, and the baby's murder was clearly cold-blooded and without motive, so that was the best one on which to proceed.
Crime and justice is a product that can be sold to society.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I'm annoyed.
The firm of Freeborough, Slack and Company took up Evans's case, but failed to follow through on any investigation, as if they thought him obviously guilty and had no reason to expend any effort.
Yeah.
They failed to question Joan Vincent, the Carpenters, and never looked into Christie's criminal record.
Yeah.
All of these things would have gone toward reasonable doubt. What the prosecution had, however, was not one but 4 separate confessions by Tim Evans, along with evidence that matched what he said. One of the odd statements taken by police was from Miss Christie, who claimed that they used the wash house to get water each day, but she had never noticed anything unusual.
The door was stuck. You liar.
That would mean that she had entered on 24 occasions while the bodies were there and had not smelled anything. She had a dog that also had detected nothing. The room only measured 4 by 5 feet. Her statement seems unlikely. In court, she claimed that they never used the wash house, but no one noticed the discrepancy.
Sure. Ugh.
Christie claims that he had noticed the wood in front of the sink on November 14th at 7:30 a.m.
I wish I was a lawyer back in the day. I would have popped this case. It's not a hard case.
Apparently it was. However, it was the wood given to him by the carpenter who pulled up the flooring, and that was done on November 14th at 10 a.m. Again, no one spotted this problem. In fact, no one's statement supported what Evans had said, including those of the workmen who had been on the premises. They had kept their tools in the wash house and had cleared the place out on the 11th. Had there been 2 bodies, someone would have noticed.
Yeah.
However, no written statement was taken from the carpenter who had given the wood to Christie.
Did he have any sort of a defense?
Who,
Like a lawyer
Evans?
or anything? Yeah.
I'm not sure how UK courts work. I'm not sure.
I imagine he had to have some sort of representation. Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't think so.
Fire that guy.
I doubt he could afford it.
And the court will appoint one to you. Again, I don't know how it works in the UK, but that's how that works.
Well, apparently the police were aware of this problem. Subsequent to another police interrogation, Kennedy claims the Carpenters changed some of their statements. One was even shown a photo of a dead body unrelated to this crime as an attempted emotional manipulation.
Okay.
The Carpenter Anderson...
Dirty tactics.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Was shown a photo of the wood that Evans had said he used to hide his wife. He recognized it as the flooring pulled up on the 11th, but he reworded his statement to pulling it up a few days earlier to accommodate the police.
Yeah.
Yet he got it wrong.
It's so slimy.
It is slimy. Because he did not give Christie the wood until 3 days after he had pulled it up, so it still could not have been used by Evans to hide his wife and daughter on the 8th and 10th.
Right.
In addition, one timesheet that proved that the original statements by the Carpenters were true appears to have been confiscated by police and never returned.
Mm-hmm.
It is the only one missing from the company's files.
I'm not surprised.
So, yeah.
It aided them in getting the confession and the verdict that they wanted, so.
Oh, yeah.
There is no end to the corruption here.
I just want to know why they had it out for Evans, like, so hard.
Because it was easy, and they're probably too prideful to admit that they were wrong. So go hard or go home, and they wanted to go home.
I
guess. They had to go hard first. Malcolm
Morris, the barrister who defended Christie, received a brief from Freeborough that suggested an insanity defense or an alternative charge of manslaughter.
No, just...
It could be they said that he had killed his child as the result of an insane impulse to avoid the discovery of the murder of his wife. The autopsy evidence from Dr. Tier that there may have been a post-mortem attempt at sexual penetration on Beryl suggests a, quote, sadistic mania. Freeborough believed that they should keep a lid on this information. Okay. Morris viewed it as a piece of information that could make his work harder, so he ignored it. No one knew at the
Okay.
time that Christie was capable of such a thing.
Yeah, because he wasn't.
I love that. It would make his work harder, so he just
That's
ignored
what
it.
this comes down to. Nobody wanted to do their job, and that's why a man died.
An innocent man.
Exactly.
But
that's this entire case. Nobody wanted to do their job.
yeah, well, it is what it is, I guess. Morris visited Evans several times, whereupon Evans told him that he had believed that the police would beat him up if he did not confess. That was important information for a false confession defense.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, there was no evidence that Evans was insane, making such a defense hard to prove. Evans kept insisting it was Christie who did it, but Morris thought it unlikely that they would succeed in pinning it on the neighbor. Nevertheless, Evans stuck to his story that this is what had happened, so Morris agreed to prepare it.
It would have been so easy.
It would have.
It would have been so easy.
But his first move was to try to bar any testimony about Beryl Evans' murder, but the judge allowed it. That meant Morris had to work hard.
Oh no.
The prosecution presented the following case. Evans and his wife had difficulty, and when he lost his job, he became depressed. He then killed his wife and child, telling lies to everyone he knew about their whereabouts. His various stages of confession ended with a full telling of how he had killed both. The fourth confession was accepted as the true story. They called Dr. Tier and Reginald Christie, but did not call the Carpenters, and since the defense knew nothing about them, these men never testified.
Of course.
Christie's demeanor on the stand impressed people. His pleasant, thoughtful testimony sprinkled with references to himself as both a hero and victim was in sharp contrast to Evans's apparent dazed and guilt-ridden presentation.
I've rolled my eyes so many times this entire case.
It's so annoying.
It's annoying. This guy is a soggy crouton. Nobody wants that. Get that out of the salad.
Out of the salad.
I apologize for that. Not to Christie. That holds true. I still believe that.
Yes, soggy crouton. Christie made sure the jury knew of his war service and the physical ailments he currently suffered.
No.
His voice was quiet and often difficult to hear. He considered each of his answers and tried to be as detailed and specific as possible. It seemed clear that this virtuous man was doing his best to be helpful.
Yep.
Don't you just hate him?
I hate him very
so
much.
much.
I've got more names for him.
Soggy cardboard.
Nope.
No?
Crusty sink sponge.
Crusty sink sponge. No, what was his nickname?
Oh yeah, can't do it, Christie.
Can't do it, Christie. It's been a week since we last talked about it, so he apparently could do it. And he did it.
I have nothing to say. I hate this man.
Yeah. Morris attempted to show another side. At the last minute, he had learned of Christie's criminal past and he tried to bring that out. But the fact that Christie had been on the straight and narrow for the past 17 years further impressed the court.
Sure.
A man who could have gone bad had turned around.
Except that he was murdering people.
Casually. Oddly, Morris raised the issue of the builders, but did not himself check into the facts. Christie told several lies to make it look as if the wood had been available for Evans earlier than it had, but that meant that Evans had dragged Beryl over a floor that had been torn up.
And they would have known that if they literally did their job. Just asked a question. Fact checked.
Well, Christie could not make a definitive point, but he took the opportunity to play up his ailments for which there was no medical proof. He played to the sympathies of the jury to deflect them away from Morris's line of thought. For some unexplained reason, no one thought to call the furniture dealer whom Evans said Christie had recommended to determine if the man knew Christie and had spoken to him before buying Evans's furniture.
They didn't feel like doing it.
They didn't feel like doing it, yeah. That would have been a telling point and a clear indication that Christie was lying.
You think?
Evans claimed to be innocent, but it was popularly believed that he was trying to save himself by throwing the blame on Christie, even though it was the other way around.
Yeah.
Since Evans was already a known liar, and since he conducted himself poorly in the witness box, he proved to be less than convincing. He claimed that he had not known of his daughter's death until he was shown her clothing in the Notting Hill police station. Her demise stripped him of all hope, so he had capitulated into a false confession. He was also afraid that the police would beat him up to get him to confess, so he had spared himself the physical abuse. The last thing he noted was that he felt he should protect Christie, but he failed to adequately explain why. He also could not say why Christie had killed his wife and daughter other than to say, well, he was home all day. It's just, this case is annoying.
Yeah.
Kennedy claims that Evans, being unable to read, had mixed up the exhibits and made statements about his demeanor during certain confessions that were inaccurate. That confusion further turned the jury against him. His reasons for confessing appeared to be absurd. How had he managed to describe the murders in such accurate detail? He said that the police had given him enough information to do so.
Yeah, because
they're just feeding him. Yeah. It also seemed what Beryl had been wrapped in. The police officers involved denied this, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution's closing speech lasted less than 10 minutes. Christie had been too ill at the time to have done what Evans claimed he had done, and also had no motive. Evans' guilt is obvious. Morris was unprepared for such a short speech. He had expected to have overnight to get his notes together, but he had to go ahead. He locked onto the idea that at no time until he was directly told did Evans mention that his daughter was dead. He only confessed it after being shown the evidence, whereas he had talked freely of disposing of his wife's body. In fact, it was odd that he'd come back to a murder scene if he in fact knew that both his wife and daughter were dead.
Right.
Rather, he would have stayed away. Yet he did visit Christie on the 23rd, even making the statement that no one had seen him. That indicated that he believed little Geraldine was still alive and that Christie must know something. At the police station, Evans asked that his mother go find out the address of the couple that Christie told him had taken her. Morris emphasized Evans' second confession in which Christie was implicated. Much of the information in that statement, he pointed out, could not have been made up by an uneducated man. In fact, the very idea that he would know of a medical book that Christie had when he himself did not read was incongruous. He also had included circumstantial details that indicated something he had heard rather than something he had fabricated. He reminded the jury that they did not have to say that Christie did it in order to say that there was some doubt that Evans did it. The case did not have to be resolved. The next morning, the judge then gave his charge to the jury that the case was about the child's death only. He ignored Morris's point about the medical text and Evans's inability to read. He also gave the jury only two options. Either Dr. Tier was lying about his autopsy results or Evans was lying. He never even mentioned Christie's dishonesty as a possibility. In fact, he went so far as to remind jurors of Christie's shining record since his early transgressions and of Evans's record as a liar. He also used sarcasm when summing up Evans's reason for killing his child. Altogether, it was prejudiced against Evans and toward Christie. There seemed no doubt to some who listened that the jury knew what the judge wanted them to do. It took them only 40 minutes to reach a verdict, guilty. Evans was swiftly condemned to die. Christie in the courtroom burst into tears. Outside, Miss Probert shouted at Christie, "Murderer, a murderer." Miss Christie defended him as a good man, and then she later got killed by him.
Yep.
Although he stuck to his story and tried one attempt at an appeal, Evans went quietly to the gallows on March 9th that same year. And in the next section, we'll go ahead and talk about Miss Christie's disappearance, and we'll do that next week for part 3.
Oh, okay.
Woo! Hope you enjoyed that one. That was another 11 pages of notes.
Yeah.
This is a long one, man. This is the longest case.
It's a lot of ridiculous information.
It really is.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
That's all we got. Just don't understand.
That's all I have anymore.
Well,
just don't get it.
I do hope you guys enjoyed this part 2 to Mr. John Reginald Christie and his absolute evilness.
I didn't.
Bailey did not enjoy this.
Infuriated.
She's constantly rolling her eyes, just in a constant state of I'm annoyed. But
basically,
if you guys did enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, 5-star rating, whatever you're on, if you can. You can follow us on all of our social medias to get special looks behind the scenes a little bit, such as pictures about our cases and what we got going on. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at What Sleep Podcast. And you can find us on Twitter at What Sleep Pod. We also have a merch store up and available to you guys. I know it's the holiday season.
Y'all gotta believe me when I say that these sweaters are the softest things I've ever touched in my life.
Yeah, I actually got one of our sweaters in.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple of our hoodies.
It is so soft.
They're just
like
really
inside
nice, honestly.
And out is soft. Like sometimes you get those sweaters that kind of lie to you when you first touch them. You know, you touch the outside, you're like, oh, this is a really soft sweater. But then you put it on, it's scratchy. But nope, this thing is like a blanket inside and out.
Yeah.
It's warm, it's cozy, it's soft. I'm so excited about it. I'm gonna get myself a purple one.
Yeah, I should have got a purple one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't think about that. But so be sure to check that out. I know the cold weather's coming in for a lot of you guys, so now's the time to get nice and warm and some What Sleep merch.
Yeah. and with your Wet Sleep mug where you can put hot cocoa. It's microwave and dishwasher safe. I have so many mugs I can't put in the dishwasher and it makes me so
I
mad.
refuse to get anything that isn't dishwasher or microwave safe.
Some of the mugs are really pretty though. I like all my mugs.
I mean, yeah, they can be pretty, but
I just don't want them to get ruined.
yeah.
Either way, I'm really
understand.
excited that our mug is dishwasher safe. So
Yeah,
fun
be sure to
fact.
check that out.
Put your hot cocoa in our mug.
Drink some coffee because we know you aren't sleeping after these cases. But we also have a Patreon that you can subscribe to every month just for $5. And if you do that, you support the podcast directly, as well as you get a cool little 15% discount off our entire merch store.
Oh, yeah.
So now's the time to get those awesome savings.
Yeah.
So
we really appreciate it.
yeah. Well, if you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Bye.